Right.
When it comes to when you were in WCW as an agent, did you have a lot of interaction with Arn? Like what kind of, how did your guys' paths?
Well, yeah, we all worked together.
Mhm.
Bill Watts was in charge then.
Yep.
So, I mean, we worked together, but Bill was in charge.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
we give our opinions,
Mhm.
and, Arn and I thought a lot alike. We were brought up in that, that same mold. And then there was other people that were working in there that weren't. And then, you had the back and forth. But Bill was more on that because he was trained by my father, Vern,
Mhm.
in the business part of it. And so he had that. And so the three of us kind of gelled really well. A couple of the other guys didn't fit in so well, but
Yeah.
So when you came in, Arn was already out of the ring when you came to WCW.
He was out of the ring. Yeah, he was.
Right.
Yeah, he was.
I was just setting the stage because I'm not sure Dominic understood that. So he'd had his injury and was out of the competitive in the ring stuff and was working as an agent in WCW before he went to WWE and had his run there as an agent.
So Greg, when were you an agent? What years were you an agent?
Oh God.
Was it because it was early 90s, right?
Well, I got Bischoff the job down there.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
But he eventually, and then when I came in, Bill Watts was in charge.
Right.
And he lost his job about maybe 6 weeks into it.
Wow. Yeah, because he said that controversial stuff about Hank Aaron, or no, not Hank Aaron.
He just, Bill was, Bill couldn't bend.
Yeah.
He had his way of doing it, and thank God, Arn and I thought a lot like he did, but we were able to go outside our expertise and bring in the feel for the other things. Bill was just, no, it's this way.
Right.
And my dad used to say to me, it can't be just one way. It can't be your way. You have to listen to them, and then you have to take all what they give you and what I give you and put it together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And mold it together for everybody else.
Right.
You can't let them run the show. You can't always do it the way, but you listen to what they have to say, and then you mold it for them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I learned from him. And Bill was tough to mold.
Yeah.
It was basically his way or the highway. And it ended up Eric Bischoff, who I got him a job now. He's just an announcer. He didn't know shit about wrestling. I won't go into that here.
Well,
I can already see him going, here we go again.
Well, so
who are we going to beat down this week?
The aspect so Arn actually, he was still wrestling in the 90s. I know he retired. He actually retired in like 90. I want to say either 98 or 97 because he cut that promo that he ended with the Horsemen. And so he was still an active wrestler in the early 90s when it comes, because I know like they're covering it right now. November 1994 is where they're at on the Arn show. And he was talking about like working with Dustin Rhodes and even being a baby face for a time being, and then turning on Dustin. And then they had not the fall brawl, or the War Games match. And, he was tagging also with what was the name of that faction that Terry Funk was in, with the Stud Stable, with oh my gosh, I'm blanking on it, Colonel Parker, so he was still doing stuff then. But yeah, I mean, like then you could already tell that they're pairing him up with people. He's working with guys like Dustin. He's working with a guy like Steve Austin at that time and stuff like that too. And being in the Dangerous Alliance too, Paul Heyman, all those, like he was such a versatile tool player that it was like, man, like Arn is just all over the place, and rightfully so, because he's so good. He
was terrific.
Very good.
Fun to work with, in the what we were doing.
Right.
I never had the opportunity to work with him in the ring, unfortunately. A lot of people that I didn't get to because, it's basically just stayed in the AWA. Sent us down to Georgia we were down there for 2 weeks. We're supposed to go down, and Jim and I wrestled Cowboy Bob Orton and Slater for the tag team title.
Wow.
They were building up to that match. So the first night we get there, we're in Columbus, Georgia. Place is sold out, and people don't know who we are. We haven't been on TV down in Atlanta.
Right.
And they got us with Rip Hawk and Dr. Jerry Graham at the end of their careers.
Wow.
We're on about the second or third match. And, they said, 10, 12 minutes. So we did about 20, 25 minutes with them and tore the place. We had the people standing. And we came in, the booker got mad at us. He said, "What are you doing out there?" I said, "We're having a match. Isn't that what we're supposed to do?" "No, those two guys, one's 50 and they're retiring. We want to eat them up." I said, "I don't want to eat them up. We want to have a match."
Yeah.
And look at the people. So the rest of the time, then the next 2 weeks, they had us working with Jerry Briscoe and Bob Backlund in a babyface tag team match every freaking night for the next week and a half. And we made about $500 each for the week. And we're missing Denver and Chicago and Milwaukee. And we get more than that in one night there. What are we doing down here?
Yeah.
So Jim Barnett's the one that wanted us down there. He was a good friend of my dad's. And I kind of grew up a little bit around Jim when he was in his prime. And he came, "Greg, what are you guys doing?" I said, "We're having matches." "Why did they put you with Backlund?" And I said, "Talk to your booker. I don't know why, but it's not working. We're going home."
We're done. So
we're done. $500 a week. We make more than that in Denver in one night.
But he brings up a point, and in the day, every match on the card was like really in the early days was leading up to your main event and your main event angles. And there was like when I remember working with Bill when I first started, and if you were in the first, second, or third match, and the same thing, and he got this from Eddie Graham, and unless you were in an angle, there was things you did not do. You didn't go outside the ring, wrestle. You didn't throw a punch. You didn't definitely, do anything over the top rope. That was a disqualification. But they had things because they wanted things to set the stage to focus on the main event. And as time went on, and you had people with greater and greater skill sets, in these early matches, to the point you could go out and have a match so good that main event that they paid to see couldn't follow it. And promoters would get really ticked off about that until the business evolved to the point where it was basically main event caliber matches from the beginning to the end. But in the early stages of it, particularly in the South, those opening matches were there to put in X amount of time, kind of set the stage, get people's appetites whetted for what was to come. And, that's the way it was. And so this whole thing of I remember Ricky Steamboat was telling me a story about, working in WWE towards the end of his career. And he was working with Haku. And they were out there on an earlier match and went out there and tore the house down. And a lot of people were upset that had to follow him and whatnot. And he said, Chief Strongbow came in. He was the agent and was giving him a little bit of grief. And Ricky looked at him and said, "I was world champion. And, what do you want me to do? You want me to regress and depict myself that I've regressed to the point that I forgot how to have timing or have excitement and all those things." And, again, those were the growing pains of wrestling. And now we have obviously we have a television product that is the be all end all. And the house show is a thing of the past, and it's a television product, and which leads us right into like the AEW, of the world that start out with a spectacular main event type matchup, right out of the chute to set the stage for the night. And really, you have to do that, because if you cut on a program and it doesn't grab your attention in the first few minutes of watching it, you're going to turn the channel and watch something else. Right. So it's all gone full circle to what Greg was trying to do, and him him and Jim and being out there and tearing the house down in an early match. Now you have to tear the house down in certainly the early matches, or you won't have anybody left to watch that big main event.
Yeah, 100%.